Hi everybody, Mrs. Heisey here. Today I am going to show you guys how to fill out a bill of material. Now, when you're filling out a bill of material, you want to use this for any type of project that you might be making. You want to estimate the cost of it. You want to estimate how much material you're going to need. This is a great tool to use. Now, on here, I'm going to estimate for my lamp that I want to be making, all right? You can use this bill of material for any type of project, but today I'm just going to go ahead and do it with the lamp. All right, first things first, you want to make sure you put your name on your bill of material. All right, you want to go ahead and label what project it is. I already have lamp on here. The one other nice thing I have on here too, I already put my calculations that I need to calculate my board feet. Now to begin with, I have to think of all the parts that I am going to be using. So if I take a look, I'm going to have a base. I have an upright. Now, if you are also making the lamp design right now, you might have an upright design. Not all students choose to have an upright design, but some do. So I put it in there just in case. I need to think about the sizes that I have. I made my patterns already, so I need to have my finished size. My base is going to be 6 inches by 6 inches by 3/4 of an inch. All right, so I'm going to fill in my finished size. I know that my upright is going to be 2 3/4 of an inch by 11 1/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. Now it's getting a little sloppy looking on mine, but you guys will have a pencil and more room to write. My upright design that I have is just a diamond, and it's going to be 4 by 4 by 3/4 of an inch. So I know what all my finished size measurements are. I just have to calculate everything out. So let's start with the base. First thing is, how many pieces do I need for my base? I'm just going to have one. So I'm going to mark the number 1 in there. Then it asks me for a rough size. Well, I know what my finished size is going to be. My rough size is I'm going to add an inch to each one of my to my length and my width in case I make mistakes. It kind of helps out there. So when I'm cutting my rough size, I want to have a 7 by 7 by 1 inch for my thickness. All right, now I need to calculate out my board feet, which is right over here. How do I do that? The math equation is right up on the top of this. So I'm going to take my calculator. You're probably going to want to have a calculator when you're doing this. I'm going to say my number of pieces is 1 times my thickness is 1. Here's the thing, rough size, those are the measurements that I would like to put in my board feet. This way, it estimates with all my little mistakes and stuff like that. So I have in there 1 times 1 times 7 times 7, then I equal that out and I divide that number by 144. If you remember us talking about calculating board feet in class, the reason we divide it by the 144 is because 12 times 12 is, 12, if we have our board feet, we have 12 inches by 12 inches. Those multiplied equal 144. So my answer for this one's going to be 0.34. All right? Now that I know my board feet, I can calculate my cost. To do that, I take the board feet and I multiply it by the cost per board foot. So I'm going to say 0.34 multiplied by $1.20 gives me, it actually gives me, I'll write it up here, 0.408. Now, with this number, we're talking money. We don't have that in pennies. So we're actually going to round this position up. So it cost me 41 cents to make my base. Now, my upright, when I make the upright, I need to have 2 pieces because I'm going to end up gluing those together. So the number of pieces, I have 2. I already know what my finished size is, so I'm just going to add an inch to each of those. So I have 3 3/4 by 12 1/4 by 1. Now looking at this, I have fractions. It's hard to multiply fractions with a calculator, so you're going to have to turn those into decimals. All right, so I know what those would be, and I'm just going to go ahead and again do my equation up here. The number of pieces I have is 2 times 3.75 times 12.25 times 1 equals, and then divide that by 144. So my answer for this one is going to be it's actually 0.638, but I'm rounding up, so my answer is going to be 0.64. Now, I take that number, 0.64, and I multiply it by $1.20 to figure out how much it's going to cost. And my answer for that is 0.768. So with that, I need to round it up to 77 cents. All right. The next one is my upright design. I'm just having one upright design. I have my finished sizes, so I can just add 1 inch to those. So it's 5 by 5 by 1. Again, I'm going to use these up for my equation up there. So I'm simply going to take 1 times 1 times 5 times 5 equals, divided by 144. My answer comes out to 0.17. 0.17. I take that 0.17 board feet and I multiply it by $1.20. Okay, and I get 0.204. Don't need to round it up, so I have 0.20. That is what my total would be for my design. Now, taking a look at the cost, we need to add it up and come up with our subtotal down here. So if you have a calculator, let me just erase that so I have more room. All right, we're going to say 41 cents plus 77 cents plus 20 cents equals $1.38. So that's what it is. The next thing I need to do is calculate 10% waste. Whenever you go to a store and you buy something, they're not going to give you the exact size that you want. For some things possibly, but when we're, trying to design our lamp, we're not going to get the exact size of wood that we want for everything. So we have to calculate in some waste costs. If you notice over here, I went ahead and I put a little calculation to do that. It's very simple. You just take your subtotal, okay, and we multiply it by, so I have 0.10 multiplied by $1.38, and my answer is going to be 0.138. So I need to round that up, so it's going to be 0.14. Okay. Now I can add these two together to get my total stock cost. So $1.38 plus 14 cents equals $1.52. So just for the wood, making our lamp, it's going to be $1.52. Now, with the lamp, we have to think about, how we actually going to get a light bulb to go on here. So we need to buy a wiring kit. Okay, the kits that we cost, as you can see right here, I need one kit for my wiring kit, and it's cost $4. All right. Now, if I were making something else, this is where you would put in if you needed nails or if you were, using other types of material. Right now, we already have our wood, our total stock cost right here, and now we have our $4. So if I had anything else, I would add it up. If I had anything else, just add it all up. I just have the $4 right there, okay? And so if you take a look, our total stock cost, I need to take this number, bring it all the way down here, and I have $1.52. Now, I need to scroll this up a little bit. I just messed everything up, but we'll move this up so you guys can see. So I have my $1.52 right here. So I need to add these two things. So if you did, it would be $5.52. Now, I'm going to take that $5.52, and I have one last thing that I need to add on here, which is my sanding supplies. Okay? When you go to finish your project and you want to make it look real nice, we're going to put a finish on there, different colors of stain that you can choose, and the sanding. Those supplies you would buy from the store, you have to get them bigger. Well, guess what? One nice thing that we have is, we're a class, so we're actually able to kind of cut those costs down. So we estimated it cost about $2 for each student between the sandpaper and the stain. So I would add that up, and I would get a total of $7.52. So that's how much it's going to cost me to make my lamp. So the bill of materials, again, we are using this to be able to calculate cost of how much something is going to cost. And we are using it so we can estimate how much material that we will need for whatever project it is that we are making. If you have any questions at all on how to fill out the bill of material, please come see me or any other teacher. Thank you.